This is the Mariners POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Seattle Mariners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I don't have it in me. ALCS suggests that he's just here to Chris Yell again. Other words, but I don't have it in me. Mariners lose 8-2, and the ALCS is now tied at 2 games apiece. Boy, it sure doesn't feel like it, does it? My name is Chris Crawford. Anders Hurst will be joining us in a second. Thank you so much for joining the Locked On Mariners postcast. We go live after every single Seattle Mariner game. We talk about the good, we talk about the bad, we talk about the ugly. And there's not a heck of a lot of good to talk about tonight. There's not a heck of a lot of good to talk about tonight. We'll go over Luis Castillo starts. We'll go over the swing decisions of the offense being dreadful. We'll talk about potentially an unsung hero or unsung villain. And we will talk about if they're cooked. Are they cooked? Because it's an interesting question. And if you want to say they're cooked, it's really hard to disagree with you right now. The way they've played these last 2 games. It's pathetic. It was a pathetic effort over these last 2 games on all sides of the ball. Offensively, defensively, the pitching, all of it has been just awful. Awful. Before I get started, I want to issue an apology. Not about what I said last night. I was completely right about that, and tonight even proves it even more. What I want to apologize is for insulting Fangraphs. Fangraphs is awesome. I'm very sorry, Fangraphs. You guys do great work. I picked one analytical thing, and I'm sorry. To my good friend Meg, to my good friend Michael Bauman, to everybody who works there, Eric Longenhagen, I apologize. I shouldn't have taken out my frustrations on you guys. You guys do terrific work. But I was 100% right about not giving up on the game because, hey, you had a better chance to win that one than this one for a lot of it. Oh, let's start with the start. Let's start with La Piedra. Well, unfortunately, La Piedra tonight was La Pluma. And for those of you who don't speak Spanish, I'm one of them. That means the feather. He was terrible. He was absolutely terrible. And it's easy to forget because he exited the game so long ago. But Luis Castillo didn't give you the best shot to win tonight. He had 2 innings. The first inning, fine. The second inning, a ton of hard contact, and I knew they were in trouble. I knew they were in trouble after that second inning, and then the third inning. Andrés Giménez, and I just want to get this out of the way. I am a person of faith. I sometimes question whether or not God loves the Seattle Mariners. When you watch Andrés Giménez, objectively, one of the worst hitters in baseball in 2025. And objectively, someone who has been dreadful in the postseason coming into Game 3 and Game 4. Well, he is the Mariners' father now. Andrés Giménez has paternal rights over the Seattle Mariners. He hits that 2-run homer. And then Dan Wilson makes the decision to pull him, and I think it is the absolute right decision to make that move. And Gabe Spire once again craps the bed. I don't think you can overstate how terrible Gabe Spire has been since Game 4 of the ALDS. I know he has 1 scoreless inning. It wasn't even a good inning. I went back and watched it. He got super lucky not to give up any hits. Gabe Spire is dreadful right now. Dreadful. Gabe Spire cannot be used in high leverage again. And that wasn't really high leverage, except yes, it was, because it was your chance to get out of there with a 2-1 deficit. And he didn't get the job done. Just flat out didn't get the job done. He comes in for another inning, Okay, I guess. And he puts the runners on, and Matt Brash unloads a wild one. Another run scores. The pitching was just dreadful tonight. The only guy who can hang his head high tonight is, I guess, Brash. He does uncork that wild one. I think he was fine. And then Carlos Vargas was fine in a very low leverage situation. But Bizzardo gives up the homer after you get within 3. Emerson Hancock, you basically suggested at a 6-2 game again that it's not worth trying. It's not worth it. Don't use Andres Munoz. God forbid. And all of that good that you had, all of it, is gone. It's freaking gone. It's just, and I see some people in the comments, and I love you guys all, and I do my best to read them. It's harder when you're doing solo, especially, to read them. Talking about the hitting approach and how the Mariners hitting approach and the Blue Jays hitting approach. The Mariners hitting approach was good enough to score 10 runs in game 2. The Blue Jays hitting approach was bad enough to score 4 runs in the first 2 games. It's been bad pitching from the Seattle Mariners, straight up. Straight up, it's been bad pitching from the Mariners of Seattle, Washington. By the way, I apologize for those watching on YouTube. I just noticed the UFO in the background of my Griffey jersey. What can you do? Hopefully it's not too distracting. The pitching was awful tonight. You gave up 21 runs in the last 2 games. And do you have to give some credit to the Blue Jays? Yeah, of course. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a bad man. There's a certain Mariner analyst who should be feeling awfully stupid right now. He doesn't, but there should be one. I'm not going to name names. On 29 hits, Elite TV points out. 21 runs on 29 hits. Oof. Oof, magoof. And there's a lot of guys on that lineup I'll take. There's some guys that are playing out of their mind, like Isaiah Kiner Falefa. Really? Freaking really? Are you kidding me? And we'll talk about the offense in a sec. But I'm embarrassed by how the Seattle Mariners pitched. And I know I have nothing to do with it. Oh my goodness, do I have nothing to do with it? But I felt a sense of embarrassment watching the Seattle Mariners pitch. I felt a sense of embarrassment. Could be just me. Could be just me. Real quick, and I'll talk to Anders about this when he comes in, but I don't think it was a layoff for Castillo that was the problem. I don't. I just think his location wasn't good enough today, and his stuff isn't as good as, some of these other guys on the staff. We call him the Rock, deservedly so, because he's going to command and he's going to battle. Well, he didn't have time for Luis Castillo to figure it out today. And I don't think it was because he had, what was it, like a week between pitching? Like a week between starts anyway. I don't think that was it. I just don't think he was good enough. We'll talk about the offense. Anders will be joining us in a sec, as I said. Really appreciate everyone who's come out. I'd really appreciate you guys hitting like and subscribe so that I can feel like this is worth something. Talking about this game is not my favorite right now. I love you all. We'll come back in just a sec on the Seattle Mariners Locked On Mariners Postcast. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I promise you it's brought to you by FanDuel, and here's some proof. There we go. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can use FanDuel for so many things. You can use it for building parlays. You can use it for player props. You can use it to suggest is not the right phrase there, to just take advantage of the Toronto Blue Jays playing in Seattle, Washington, because boy, oh boy, have they figured out hitting there in 2025. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is fun. It's a simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. It's really simple. Like, you don't have to spend a bunch of time making decisions, doing a bunch of research. They put it all out there for you, and they have that number. It's your job to pick whether or not you're right or wrong. And if you end up being right, it can work out really well. There's a special max discount promotion live on the board right now for the Golden State Warriors versus Los Angeles Lakers game on October 21st. Steph Curry is discounting to only need more than half a point to win. So mix and match your players from football, basketball, and baseball to build your dream lineup today. And if you download the PrizePick app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. Welcome back to the Mariners Postcast, and I am joined by my fellow solemn Mr. Anders. Thank you so much for joining us. Not fun.
You're welcome.
This is not what we were hoping for whatsoever, and no. I got a feeling of embarrassment tonight, and I'm just wondering if that's a silly feeling or if it's something that you can kind of understand.
Guys, I'm going to be completely honest. It's hard for me to think of this game in baseball terms because I'm here tonight. I witnessed some craziness tonight, and all I'm going to say as a fan of the Seattle Mariners is I now officially hate the Blue Jays more than the Houston Astros. I won't say anything more, but that's all. That's all I'll say. I agree with you, Chris. I think in terms of the baseball that was played on the field tonight, it was not what we would have hoped. Last night we talked about going for the jugular, especially after getting the 2-run lead early with Julio Rodriguez's home run. It's a similar situation tonight where Josh Naylor leans on a pitch, gets it out of the park. It's feeling good. Mm-hmm. Luis Castillo looked great through the first inning, looked really good through the second inning, and then the third inning just doesn't look good at all.
No.
I don't know what to say. It's tough. I want to shout out Doug Crystal, who I ran into on the concourse tonight, and he says he listens to the postcast every night.
Thanks,
He loves your takes, Chris Crawford.
Good.
And I just want to give a shout out because this night is tough for me personally.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. But to me, we talked about it on Monarch Monday on Ian Furness show on 93.3 KJRFM. Like last night, I said that 3-0 versus 2-1 is the biggest difference in one game. I think honestly tonight proved that isn't the case. Prove me wrong. I think 3-1 versus 2-2 is the biggest difference in a one game. Yeah. So. And the Blue Jays have all the momentum in the series. They have their guys are hitting well. I had faith with Castillo going into tonight, and I was wrong.
Yep.
I don't know what to say. I'm feeling very worried as a Mariners fan right now, and I really, really hope that they can prove me wrong. But I don't feel good about the rest of the series. So they can prove me wrong.
outside of just blind optimism, and I'm not going to completely discredit blind optimism. It's kind of a wonderful thing to have in sports and in life. If you can be optimistic about the Seattle Mariners right now, great. And I hope you show up in Seattle and really cheer your what's off and help this team have a home field advantage, because they didn't tonight. Lord Almighty, did they not have a home field advantage tonight? But there's nothing we've seen from these last two games. And really, honestly, Anders, outside of a couple of innings in games 1 and games 2, the Toronto Blue Jays have been better. And that's not completely just insult to the Seattle Mariners. The Toronto Blue Jays are a good baseball team, really good baseball team. There's a reason
they're a really good team.
4 games.
They're the number one seed.
The number 1 seed. There's a reason why, if they do advance to the World Series, they've got a shot of beating the Los Angeles Dodgers. But I don't feel good about this at all. I don't feel good about it at all. And in part because, oh my gosh, as bad as the pitching was, the offense tonight for the overwhelming majority of the game was pathetic. And there were some swing decisions today, Anders, that were among the worst that I've seen from a Seattle Mariner team. I thought they pressed like crazy. Pressed like crazy. I just want to get this out of the way real quick, and then I'll
please go.
I give no credit to Max Scherzer. The Seattle Mariners made god-awful decisions against Max Scherzer. The swing on Polanco for the double play. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing? That hurt the Seattle Mariners so much. You get those 2 walks, and then you ground meekly into that double play in that situation. Horrible swing decision. Horrible decisions all night long against pitches that were out of the zone, taking pitches down the middle and just not taking advantage of situations. This was the Seattle Mariners being bad much more than Max Scherzer being good.
100% agree. And you saw it early, like Julio takes the walk in the first inning, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be like a really good, the guys are bouncing back like we've seen so many times throughout this playoffs. But that just didn't follow up in the following innings. Absolutely not. And I don't know whether it's a coaching thing. I don't know whether it's they felt like they could be aggressive against Max Scherzer tonight. He's a dog. I'm gonna just say it right now, a 41-year-old, and I'm not saying that he pitched his ass off, because he doesn't have the stuff that he used to. But he's the type of guy that knows exactly what kind of pitch will get you out. He has the experience. He has the wherewithal to know like how to work a lineup a little bit. And I'm not even saying that he pitched great tonight, but he knew exactly what the Mariners' mentality was coming into tonight, and he took advantage of that. He absolutely did, and got them to chase more often than they really should have, more than I've seen them in a long time, to be completely honest.
Yep.
And it really, really hurt them. And while we can easily blame Luis Castillo for tonight and George Kirby for last night, it's the offense that hasn't really gotten anything going to make this a game to where Dan Wilson can go to his high leverage arms. And I realize the Gabe Spire thing, we'll probably get to that later in this episode. I'm curious on your thoughts on leaving him in there for George Springer. But it's tough to argue when your offense isn't really putting up much of a fight.
No, that's totally fair. And, Anders, I talked a little bit about it in the earlier part that Gabe Spire's just cooked. He's cooked. He was a huge key cog to the bullpen for a large portion of the season. He was great in the first 3 games against Detroit. I give him all the credit in the world there. He's cooked. He's absolutely goose cooked, like Dunzo. There, you can't trust him in a high leverage situation again. You just got to go with Brash and Bizzardo. And Bizzardo ends up giving up the homer right after you score the run. This bullpen was bad tonight outside of Carlos Vargas. Want to talk about one play in particular. Mariners are down 5-1. Josh Naylor draws a walk to put a runner on second base.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Yeah,
and I just
Gino
don't want
Suarez,
to talk about it.
Finally, Gino Suarez lines that single to score a run, and Josh Naylor gets thrown out at third base. And Anders, I talked about this in the Dodgers series, that There's aggressiveness, and then there is stupidity. And there have been a couple of times where Josh Naylor's aggressiveness has bordered on stupidity, and he got thrown out in a really silly situation, thankfully in a meaningless game against the Dodgers. This wasn't meaningless, Anders. This was your one chance to put something together. And I know he gets the homer. I know he gets on 4 times today. But oh boy, could I go with unsung villain for Josh Naylor tonight for making that mistake. I don't think it's what cost him the game. It cost them the chance to get back into this game, however.
Yeah, I totally agree. It just kind of deflated this building. As someone who's been in here, I was kind of roaming around the concourse at that point. Gino, like having a opposite field base hit. What? That's not something you associate with Eugenio Suarez.
Nope.
But it seemed like, okay, things can finally turn the other way. We'll get something going. If nothing else, put pressure on the Blue Jays bullpen. You make them use their leverage arms. And then Josh Naylor gets thrown out on the same play. And it's like, why? What is the benefit of having that? They tell you to never get the first or third out at between second and third base. And that's like one of the first things you learn when you're playing baseball. And I get it. I understand his aggressiveness, and he tries to read the game because his speed isn't something that you can use as a weapon as much as other players. But dude, you can't do that. You absolutely can't do that. I agree with you. It didn't cost the Mariners the game, but it cost them a chance to get back in the game. And that's something that I think would have gone a long way. If nothing else, if we had gone into the 8th or 9th inning with a 1 or 2 or even a 3-run deficit at that point, and with a chance to kind of get back in their bolt, make them use their leverage arms, get some sort of rally going. Kind of like what the Blue Jays did in Game 2, if you guys remember. It was a blowout, but then they started to get a couple going a little bit. They got a couple walks, and I realized they don't get a bunch of runs, but it's set in motion what was going to happen for the next couple of games. And I really wanted the Mariners to set that up for the next couple of games here, if nothing else than to win the game. But it quickly shut the door on what could have been a comeback.
Yeah, that's just so disappointing. The high that I feel from the first good piece of hitting I've seen from Suarez in Seattle in the playoffs anyway in a while. And so that moment, and again, Josh Naylor is one of the only reasons why this isn't a nothing, right? Like he has a terrific offensive game, but this is our job. Our job is to point out the good and the bad of the Seattle Mariners on a game-to-game basis, literally. And Josh Naylor, that helped the Mariners a lot, the homer and getting on 4 times. He hurt the Mariners a lot with that base running mistake, and I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed because he has to know better. He has to know better, and I don't know. I'm so flummoxed, the difference that I've seen from this team over these last 2 games. Now, it's still tied. It's 2 games to 2. Seattle Mariners
have over
home game,
but you if you needed to win today, there is no question that you need to win tomorrow. Like
no question about it.
And even like if it's this 0 to 100, you're talking 99.9. You flipping need to win tomorrow. I'm sorry. You do.
Yeah, it's an absolute must win. You're not going to win 4 games in Toronto, and I'll be happy if that ends up being a freezing cold take, right? Like if that ends up being,
I don't care.
But that's not conducive to winning whatsoever.
No.
And it puts a lot of pressure on Bryce Miller. It probably puts pressure on Brian Wu, because I cannot imagine he's not pitching now. Cannot imagine. You have to have all systems go. You cannot see Vargas.
Quick question for you, Chris. Does Brian Wu exist?
I think so.
If you weren't going to use him yesterday, what's the excuse for not using him today?
Only thing I can think of, honestly, Anders, is if they think the best plan is just going with him one time through a lineup in Game 5, or if they really, really feel like he can start for them in Game 6 or Game 7. That's the only thing that I can like possibly defend, and it's It's not sound logic. It's not sound whatsoever. The other thing here could just be that they hoped that Brian Wu was going to be ready, and he's not. That's the only other thing I can think of is that they go, hey, we'll hope for the best. But that's it's just such a bummer. And yet they still have a chance to do something they've never done. They still have a chance to take back control of this series, but they're going to have to play loads better than they have. I mean, that's the most obvious point I could possibly make. If they play like they did the last 2 games, they have zero shot of winning another game. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. We really appreciate the support, especially.
Can I say one thing?
Please.
F the Blue Jays. If the Mariners screw this, go Dodgers. That's all I'm going to say.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. What Anders isn't going to talk about it, and I won't either, but what Anders went through today is there's no such thing as just a real nice fan base, even no matter what anybody tells you about. There's no such thing. And I will just say this. If you are somebody who goes from Seattle to Toronto, do not treat them the way some Toronto fans have treated Seattle Mariner fans, because Anders, you're not the only person I've heard stuff from, man. And I love you. And I'm sorry I had to go through some absolute bullcrap, my man.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. The game's at 3:08. Bryce Miller against, I believe Kevin Gausman has been announced. If it hasn't been announced, Kevin Gausman is absolutely starting this game. We love you all. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you're a Blue Jay fan who just really wanted to get under our skin, I hope you enjoyed not having your comments read. I just enjoyed blocking the crap out of this guy who keeps talking about Geno Smith. Geno Smith sucks. The Toronto Blue Jays are not my favorite baseball team. I love you all.